So
And
I was curious.
Yeah.
I wanted to know how did you, having this inability to read in the way that you experienced this, how did that help you become this pattern maker and this fashion designer and the person you are today? How did it help you do that? Because I know that every disability has a benefit. I'm just curious what it was for you.
Okay, so I have three pillars of absolute truths that I could guarantee are the cornerstones of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is that everything is a gift.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is a gift. Everything that happens is a gift. Successes, great gifts. Those are the kind you want.
Of course.
But sometimes the greatest gifts come through failure.
Correct.
If you have the awareness to see it that way and not feel that your failure, and not be sort of knocked down by your failures. So it's taken me my entire adult life, or most of it, to figure this out, that everything is a gift. So how is having this reading disability a gift? Well, when other people were reading, I was getting better at sewing.
Mm-hmm.
I was putting patterns together I was creating unusual, I was learning mechanics. I was learning all these things that really came in handy for my company. I don't get flustered or frustrated by having a problem.
Mm-hmm.
If it has a tangible aspect to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I became very good at problem solving, jerry-rigging things.
Right.
And I didn't feel the need to write everything down and prove that it would work before I tried it.
Uh-huh.
So my gift was that because of my reading disability, I don't read instructions when, putting something together.
Mm-hmm.
So guess how many times I put things together and I had like 3 extra bolts from IKEA, and they only give you the right number of bolts. So, well, I must have missed something because thank goodness some of the instructions are like pictures.
Uh-huh.
But written instructions, forget it.
Uh-huh.
I figure it out by experimenting. So everything is a gift, including the times that I failed. Because when I failed in school, it made me focus even more on the things that I was good at.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows, if I had done better in school, I might have become a teacher.
Correct.
And then you and I wouldn't be talking.
Absolutely.
Right?
And that would be a travesty, in my opinion.
Exactly. So, I had a very successful company and very profitable too. For many, many years. For 29 years, the company made money.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2008, when you have a company that's selling, over close to $13 million in products, in 2007, I believe we manufactured about 200,000 garments in our factory.
Mm-hmm.
And sent them all over North America. When you have a company of that size, you borrow money from a bank to enable you to buy the fabric and pay the people and then get the money back from the retailers. And there are times of the year where you owe the bank money, and then there are times of the year when you pay back that money and the bank owes you money when you have money in the bank.
Right.
Well, in 2008, there was a period where we owed the bank $2 million.
Wow.
And we hadn't shipped the products to the customers and gotten paid yet. And so it was one of these times in the cyclical nature of a seasonal business where we owed the bank money, and they decided they wanted their money back in 30 days.
Wow.
And they saw signs and signals to indicate that we might be in a position where we wouldn't be able to pay them back.
Mm-hmm.
I thought otherwise because I had always been able to solve problems and, come up resourcefully with solutions.
Mm-hmm.
They did not share that belief. I have a feeling they all did very well in school, though. So in 2008, we were given 30 days to pay back $2 million to the bank. And everything that I had dreamed of in that vision had become a reality. I had achieved that goal.
Mm-hmm.
That vision had materialized, and it became manifested.
Right.
And I find it so interesting that it was only then that I was forced to let it go.
Interesting.
And at the time, I didn't have that perspective. I was really angry. I was really heartbroken because this was my baby. This is something I had been imagining since I was 17.
Right.
And it was the company that had afforded, our family to buy this wonderful little cabin on a lake and had afforded us a lifestyle that was really not extravagant, but great. And now we were in a position where we were going to lose everything.
Mm-hmm.
So when that happens and you experience, and I'm not talking about a little failure. I'm not talking about, your boyfriend broke up with you or your girlfriend broke up with you or you're having a bad hair day. I'm talking about a big honking failure. When that happens, it's a test of believing that everything is a gift.
Uh-huh.
Right?
100%.
I cried. I plea bargained. I said, God, just let me get over this, and I promise you, I'll be better. And no, it wasn't in the cards. It wasn't my purpose and path. My purpose and path was to change in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And it's taken me until now, really, 5 years, to find a new path and purpose for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And you've really helped me because I realized that I have a very interesting story to tell.
Very.
And now it's time for me to tell that story.
I believe so.
What you can't see from where we're standing is you can't see that I have a studio, which is a construction trailer, in my driveway out there.
Right.
It's 10 feet by 32 feet. So I've gone from 60,000 square feet to 320 square feet.
Uh-huh.
I have my sewing machines in there. I have fabric in there. And I go out there and I still create. But instead of it being a big company with all these employees and a bank loan, I have one intern and I have one admin assistant who comes and visits me 1 day a week, and me. And this morning I began my day by getting out of bed and jumping in the lake, and went out to the trailer and did some work on a deer hide jacket that I'm making for a native woman in Red Lake who has been my guide and teacher, teaching me about her people and their culture and their history, which was never part of the curriculum of the school when I went to school up there. So you can imagine going to school where 75% of the population are First Nations. Mm-hmm. We didn't know anything about them. My family were immigrants from Iceland and Sweden. My classmates' parents were from Germany and Italy and Poland and Russia. And these First Nations kids were sitting next to us, and we knew nothing about them.
Right.
But we learned European history. We learned Canadian and American history, but it was as though these people didn't exist in the curriculum. And so, in addition to advocating on behalf of changes to our education system, I've also devoted my life to making sure that in areas like Red Lake, my hometown, that there is an awareness, and it's part of our education, of the education curriculum up there, to acknowledge and pay respect to these people upon whose land these gold mines are being built.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've really devoted my life to making a difference. And this is not something that just happened since I lost my business. It's something that happened about 25 years prior to that, when I became aware that I had been carrying some guilt and shame of the racism that I witnessed and participated in, and the marginalization of First Nations people.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a speaking career now, and a portion of my honorarium goes to a fund that I established in my hometown called the Kishik Fund.
Mm-hmm.
And Kishik in Ojibwe means sun. It's the sun up in the sky.
Right.
And the sun brings light and enlightenment, and it brings growth and fertility, and it's symbolic of many things. So the Kishik Fund, when I first started my speaking career, I gave all of the money, because I had my company then.
Mm-hmm.
I gave all the honoraria for my speaking engagements to the Kishik Fund. And as a result, some really big improvements have been made in the Red Lake area where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
There's now native language teachers in the school.
Nice.
There is a York University accredited program, which the Kishik Fund supported, to take kids out into the bush, and native teachers, and learn traditional knowledge from the elders.
Mm-hmm.
And when I grew up in Red Lake, it was illegal for First Nations people to carry on their cultural ceremony, which is called a powwow. They had to have them in secret in the bush. Mm-hmm. And if they were caught, they could be arrested.
Right.
This is when I grew up there.
Uh-huh.
Our Canadian government basically committed cultural genocide against the native people by destroying the family unit through residential schools, taking the children away, destroying the strength that a family unit creates by not recognizing or allowing the culture to continue.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up seeing the results of that. And so I've raised a lot of money for the Kishik Fund so that changes in my lifetime.
Incredible.
And so now, Greg, that I don't have my company, which keeps me so busy and flying all over the place, and I mean like running on adrenaline, now I have a chance to really focus on that calling and really taking my advocacy for First Nations people to another level.
Incredible. That's beautiful work, and I know that focusing on First Nations is one of the components of my business. It's on my long-term vision plan for where I want this business to go, because naturally, being in Canada, that is a part of First Nations are a part of the cultural history of this country, and they're very much a part of the present.
When you arrived at the airport, was there any reference to it?
Not that I was aware of, no.
Mm-mm. Is there any place in downtown Toronto that is a sacred tribute to the heartbeat of the Native people for whom the city of Toronto was a meeting place and a trading center long before the Europeans came?
Unfortunately, it isn't.
No, we have to change that.
Well, this is very similar to Australia and what happened in Australia. It's very, very similar.
And South Africa. Do you know that?
Absolutely.
Do you know that we Canadians were so good at marginalizing the First Nations people that we actually taught South Africa how to do reservations, except you call them homelands in South Africa. But apparently, we actually taught that country how to achieve that, and we did it through our reservations. It's not a natural way of living in the middle of the bush with 3,000 people concentrating in one little area. I mean, don't even get me started on this, because we have another whole conversation.
That's a whole nother conversation
about this. And I would certainly be happy to open doors to First Nations people that have welcomed me into their culture and have been an incredible part of my own personal healing and my own personal journey.
Excellent. Well, that would be amazing, because I know it's definitely one of the core, I guess, divisions of my company and where I wanted to head. So we'll have to talk about that at a later stage.
Okay.
Which I'll be very interested to do.